Hello, everyone. How are you? I wanted to talk to you today about being irrelevant in the age of AI versus being connected. And I will tell you what I mean by this by describing a little situation that happened last week that sparked all this. I sat on it, by the way, for a few days, and I still have the feeling that I would really love to say something about it. So here we go. I was online when I saw an ad by one of these major companies, and I'm not going to go into who it was or why, it's irrelevant, but one of these major companies that work on, let's say, educating people to become better, to understand life at all levels, including metaphysical levels, subconscious levels, and so on. So the ad said more or less the following things. In this day and age, if you don't use AI, if you don't use ChatGPT, if you don't use Midjourney in your practice, in your business, you will become irrelevant and nobody will know about you. Now, here's the thing. This does not come from someone who thinks technology is difficult or we should not be using technology. In fact, if you didn't know already, I have a master's in computer science. I'm a PhD dropout. I have worked for over 12 plus the masters and all the teaching assistant and all of that work, probably at least 15 years in industry, including in New York City, in technology, in startups, before I completely changed my life. And for a few years now, I have been helping others remember more of who they really are, work with their intuition, step into their higher self, and so on. So, this is not someone who was born or raised into beliefs or a background for any of the work that I do, and also someone who has a significant, very, very significant background in technology and gladly uses technology, Zoom, and so on in their business, in their life, to talk to their family, to their friends remotely. Technology is very helpful. However, when somebody says that you will become irrelevant unless I just have a question. I have a few questions. I have many questions, but the first question, does that bring fear or concern or worry or this feeling of missing out in you? Or does it make you feel more free, more aligned, more inspired, more connected, more in unity with yourself and with others? There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just asking a question. I personally did not go into fear. But when I heard that question, you'll hear probably some New York City ambulances now. As always, city sounds in the background. When I heard that question, to be perfectly honest, I was more or less indifferent because I did not feel that it affected me in any way. It did not create an urgency at all in me. But the reason why I still thought about it, it was because of the tone that it was said with. And isn't that interesting that in a time where more people than ever feel lonely, disconnected, where more people than ever are craving for community, for being together, for finding more ways to connect with each other, to create unity, to create a shared understanding? Isn't it interesting Isn't it interesting the thoughts that what we should be focused on is using AI? Now, I'm not saying that AI is not very helpful. I'm not saying that no one should ever use it. But just the thought that if you want to not become irrelevant in the future, you absolutely need AI. It's just something that I find very bizarre, very peculiar, and dare I say, does this influence a lot of people to focus on a specific timeline based on fear, and in particular, fear of missing out, in particular, a fear that they don't have inside of themselves what it is required in order to attract the right people, to connect with the right people? I just wonder. I have the my own opinion for myself, but I will just let you judge for yourself. I, for one, have been trying to post more, and I have been doing it from the intention of creating more connection because I wanted to be connected more with my audience, with clients and friends who have crossed my path at some point, and we can't always see each other. For people who just find my channel, or whether it's Instagram or the YouTube channel where I post a little bit of information, and many people give me feedback that it does matter and it makes a difference. And that's the reason why I create this content. Not because I love it, not because I have a need for it. I would much rather write, I would much rather connect in person, but I do it because I want to connect more in ways that I can today. Now, when I look at YouTube, when I look at Instagram, I also notice that more than ever, we have a lot of commercials that are deep fake. Nothing seems real anymore. For the most part, a lot of the spiritual news is the same. A lot of it is about timeline splitting, about certain things. I take and leave whatever works for me and whatever doesn't. I use discernment. But when I look, there are so many faceless channels, there's so much information. And what I want to say is that I personally don't think that we need more information. I don't think that we need more knowledge to a certain extent. We need more knowing, we need more inner knowing, we need more understanding on how to connect with ourselves and others. And I personally want to not master AI in order to be relevant. I personally resonate with creating the trust, creating the connections, creating a physical, actual presence of a human being that has a space to offer that other people who might feel attracted to my particular offerings could resonate with and appreciate that it's a real person, appreciate that it's a human support, and perhaps reach out and why not step into one of my many types of containers. So, this is what I am thinking when I hear about relevance or irrelevance in the age of AI. And I don't find it frightening. I don't find it concerning. But I do think that the more of us talk about creating choices, about cultivating and creating even more discernment for ourselves as we hear more and more of this type of agendas, and just really discern, is this our agenda? Is this the world we want to live in? What do we really need? Do we need more connection? Do we need more community, or do we need more skills and more techniques and more strategy to attract more people? And remembering that, we can play the very, very short term game, or we can play the long game and the medium to long game. And that medium to long game is actually what we came here to do. It's our purpose and our mission in this lifetime. And the short game that gives us short term results for a reason or another will never be able to replace the embodiment of our soul and the unique expression that we came here to create. So I'm very curious to know, what are you thinking? If you're listening to this video, and if you are, thank you so much for listening. What are your thoughts? What would you like to see moving forward in the world? What would you like to create? And just let me know. How does this land? What are you thinking?